How's it going? Welcome to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. Shout out to everybody watching, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support as always. Let's get to it. This was AEW's debut in Long Island, New York. This show was at the same arena that WWE had Raw at just over a week ago. They had a bigger crowd for Dynamite, and that has caused a lot of debate online from both sides, WWE fans, AEW fans. They argue back and forth about it, but hey, it is what it is. AEW drawing a pretty strong crowd, almost 10,000 people for this show. We had MJF's music starting us off. MJF, of course, from Long Island, New York. But instead of MJF, it was CM Punk. Yes, CM Punk coming out instead of MJF when MJF's music played. I love this because for the longest time, we were talking about what if CM Punk's music hit and MJF came out instead, and they reversed it. It was CM Punk coming out instead of MJF when MJF was supposed to get that hometown reaction. Naturally, the crowd did not like CM Punk for this. They booed him. And CM Punk totally went heel on these fans in Long Island. He's like, seriously, is this all you got? He said Chicago was louder than Long Island, New York. And then he started doing the cheap heat with the sports team. He brought up the New York Islanders and how they haven't won a game in their own building yet. And he said it's hot in the arena. He took off his jacket and he had a Four Pillars t-shirt, which did not include MJF. Britt Baker was on there instead, which is a reference to the whole comment from MJF about CM Punk trying to get in her pants. CM Punk said that MJF is not even as good as Roddy Piper was in the movie Hell Comes to Frogtown. And then CM Punk said that he has his eye on the AEW title. But before he goes for the title, he has to settle things with MJF. He officially challenged MJF to a match, did not announce a time or a date or anything like that, but said he would do it in Long Island. However, MJF is probably not going to accept it. Punk said that his dog has more balls than MJF, and his dog is neutered. Like I said, this was a great segment. This was very entertaining. Even if it's for one night, CM Punk acting like a heel, I loved it. It was really fun to watch. And then after the first commercial break, we had a little vignette of MJF arriving in a Ferrari, I believe. And then he showed up for the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. The third one in AEW history. Of course, MJF won the first two. He was the only person to get an entrance, which is, a giveaway as to how it's going to turn out, the outcome of it. Tony Schiavone and Excalibur were questioning the integrity of the Long Island fans cheering for MJF. So was CM Punk cutting a heel promo, or was Long Island, New York the heels? Depends how you look at it. But anyways, we had the Battle Royal. Shawn Spears was out there helping out MJF. And then you had the Bunny giving Matt Hardy some brass knucks. Hardy used them on Jay Lethal and then dumped him out of the ring. Man, Jay Lethal kind of feels like an afterthought already. Dante Martin quickly eliminated Matt Hardy. And then we had Lio Rush and Dante with a face-off. But they were cut off by Wardlow and Will Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs. Those two guys had a face-off. And then MJF started eliminating a ton of people. MJF eliminated Wardlow and Lio Rush. He eliminated several other people, and then it was down to MJF Dante Martin and Ricky Starks. Now, of course, Dante and Ricky are part of Team Taz. However, there was a betrayal. Dante betrayed Ricky Starks, threw him over the top, and the rule of this match was that the final two would be the winners for this week and would go on to next week, Winter is Coming, to have a match to determine the new Dynamite Diamond champion and the person to have the ring. After the match was over, you had Ricky Starks attacking Dante Martin. MJF walked off and was kind of torn about what to do. He ran back into the ring, acted like he was going to help Dante, but then attacked Dante as well. CM Punk ran down and got booed some more. MJF quickly bailed. Dante took a shot at Ricky Starks, and CM Punk hit the GTS to a lot of boos. But yeah, this was quite the first half hour or so of Dynamite. Gary Joe says, I feel the betrayal was really needed. Dante would not have fit with Team Taz. Yeah, and we all kind of figured that it wasn't going to last. Gary Joe says this is another amazing show. It hit on all cylinders. We had the Jurassic Express and the Varsity Blondes up against the Acclaimed and 2.0 8-man tag team match. Jungle Boy quickly cleared the ring. You had Garrison coming over the top with a dive, and then the bad guys got control for a while. They worked over Pillman. Pillman tagged in to Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus did all of his big moves. Jungle Boy tagged back in. Things started breaking down, everybody hitting big moves, and Jungle Boy put on the snare trap. However, Daniel Garcia got on the apron. Eddie Kingston ran down to stop him. Max Caster tried to hit Jungle Boy with a flying elbow, but missed, and then Jungle Boy put on the snare trap, picked up the win. Eddie Kingston went backstage and started cutting a promo, but there was no audio for his promo. And then all of a sudden you had Daniel Garcia 2.0 attacking him, and there was a backstage brawl with Kingston being laid out. We had FTR cutting a promo for Rampage. They will be challenging the Lucha Brothers for the tag team titles, and they vowed to become the first ever two-time tag team champions in AEW history. We had the Young Bucks versus Chuck Taylor and Rocky Romero tag team match. Taylor hit a dive early on, but he got distracted by Brandon Cutler, and he got hit with super kicks. The Bucks ran to the outside of the ring, gave Adam Cole a kiss. They worked over Chuck for a while. Orange Cassidy started to get involved, but then Adam Cole attacked him. Romero finally got the hot tag. Cutler got into the ring. So did Adam Cole. So did Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy did his kicks to Cole, and then Orange Cassidy got kicked by Nick Jackson. Cutler grabbed his spray bottle and accidentally sprayed Matt Jackson. Nick then saved Matt from being pinned, and then they regrouped. They got it together, and Matt and Nick hit the Dave Meltzer driver, got the 1-2-3 victory. After the match was over, you had Wheeler Yuta come down to try and save his buddies, but he was unsuccessful. Orange Cassidy got hit with the Panama Sunrise. Then we had Sue in her SUV arriving with the returning Trent, who's been out of action for a long time. He came back, he cleaned house, and then we had the big best friends group hug. Everybody reunited once again. Gary Joe says this is what tag team wrestling is supposed to feel like. This was a predictable outcome, sure, but there was many times where you felt like there was going to be an upset victory. FYI, great to see Trent back. And Marcus the Entertainer says, good show tonight. Thank you guys for those comments. We had Ruby Soho backstage, and she got ambushed by Nyla Rose, the Bunny, and Penelope Ford. And I forgot to mention that Trent has a short haircut now. He's ripped. looking great. Just wanted to mention that as well. Ruby Soho got beat down by Nyla Rose, the Bunny, and Penelope Ford backstage. We had Tony Schiavone interviewing Sammy Guevara, and there was a quick interruption by Cody Rhodes. Crowd booed Cody Rhodes, even though he's out there. He's got the burns all over himself from last week. And he made an announcement. Tony Khan has made the match official. On the Christmas Day edition of AEW Dynamite, it will be Sammy Guevara defending the TNT title against the very first champion, Cody Rhodes. And Cody took his leave. Then you had Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky in the stands, way up in the upper deck somewhere, and they were upset that Cody is jumping in front of the line. Ethan Page said that maybe if he was an MVP, or not an MVP, an EVP, he would get a title match quicker. And he also noted that Dan Lambert will be coming back. So Chris Jericho, you didn't get rid of Dan Lambert. He's coming back. You're going to have to finish him off. We then had, at the 9:30 spot, Jamie Hayter versus Riho, which was a good match. And by the way, Nick Lavin says Cody was trolling the fans, almost went to the heel tunnel. Yeah, and then he said something like, when he was talking to Sammy, he's like, from one good guy to another. So yeah, they're really milking it for all it's worth. Anyways, Jamie Hayter versus Riho. Good match here from the ladies. They did it in the usual time slot for the ladies, but a very solid match here from them. Riho hit a crossbody early, and Jamie escaped to the outside. Riho went for a dive to the outside, but Jamie caught her, sent her into the ring post, and then Jamie had control for a while. She hit several moves, brainbuster, backbreaker. Riho kept kicking out. Put on a single leg crab. Riho got out of that. And then Riho made her comeback, hit a double stomp off the top, but Hayter kicked out of that. And then we started having the interference. Rebel grabbed Riho's boot, but Riho still managed to overcome the odds. She hit a crucifix bomb off the top and then hit her running knee finisher to pick up the win. Britt Baker attacked her after the match and then put on the lockjaw, taking her out. They're supposed to be having a match at some point. That's been building up over the last several weeks. We then had the Varsity Blondes interviewed on the stage by Tony Schiavone. Lights went out, and it was Malakai Black who popped up, and I guess he's feuding with the Varsity Blondes now for whatever reason. I don't know why, but that's what they're doing now. And he spit some mist in Julia Hart's face, and everybody was acting like she was dead, pretty much. We then had our main event of the evening, which was Bryan Danielson versus Long John Silver. Pretty much exactly what you would expect from these guys. Match was good, but you knew this was going to be Bryan picking up the win here. But Silver held his own, pretty standard stuff. Bryan dominated early. He came off the top rope, but Silver caught him with a sit-down powerbomb. They traded some kicks. Silver got a few near falls on Bryan. And then Bryan started using the dirty tactics. As Nick Lavin says, heel Bryan is best for business. Bryan gouged the eyes, started hitting some elbow strikes, hit a Gotch pile driver, and then picked up the win over. I'm not sure if it was a submission or they just called it off like a knockout or something. But yeah, Bryan was just hovering over Silver and the match was stopped. Bryan was declared the winner. And then Bryan got on the mic afterwards and he said he kicked everybody else's heads in, but he did not do it to Silver, and he did promise that he would do it. So he continued to attack Silver. Adam Page ran down, the world champ, attacked Bryan, and Bryan escaped to the outside. Silver got on the mic and said next week at Winter is Coming, he is going to stomp the cowboy shit out of Bryan. And that was Dynamite. It was a good show this week. Wasn't a blowaway show, but they did a very good job of building up next week's show, which is one of the big ones. Winter is Coming. They've been hyping that up for several weeks now. Bryan versus Adam Page for the title in Texas. Gonna be a hot show. Gary Joe says, no doubt this show was truly fantastic. A- show. I'm going to disagree with that, Gary. I think it was a good show, but not one of the best Dynamites. It was more about building up to the future. I'm giving it a solid B. So yeah, I thought it was a good show overall. Best thing on the show, to me, by far, was the beginning stuff with CM Punk. And everything else was all right. You probably could have skipped it and not missed too much. But the beginning, I would say definitely check out with CM Punk. Walter Cruz with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Walter. Says, why have a single wrestler feud with a team? Well, maybe he's going to have some backup. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Or they just want to have something to do for the Varsity Blondes. Colin Andrews says B. Marcus the Entertainer with a solid B. Walter Cruz, B+. MVP Kev with a B. And Mohammed with a B-. And Joey Perez says, I give a B+ after watching Dynamite and DVR. And Daniel gives the show a solid A. Apparently, Gary Joe says to Walter Cruz said that on Instagram, Black has been teasing the idea of a faction. So maybe there is something to this. There will be the House of Black as a faction in AEW. In the chat room, the poll, 74% thumbs up, 9% thumbs down, 2% thumbs middle, and 14% did not watch. That's all I got for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate your viewership and support. Next week's going to be a big one. Winter is coming. I'll be back after that to cover the show. Stay tuned for all the other content on the No DQ channel. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest wrestling news and rumors. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. And I will see you all